Well, you've got drops down.
Oh, okay. Well,
We don't DYI, DQI, DPI.
I
We try to be professional. So
really trying to figure out the last time I put a drop down when I was painting, just to be completely honest here. We're back on the Ohio Painting Company podcast. Kevin Silliman and Nick Goble joining us again here, episode 42, when we're talking about painting the impossible. How are you, fellas?
good, good. It's a
First,
rainy Wednesday.
Oh, you got rain over there too?
it's been oh my gosh, it's been we'll still do exteriors until Christmas. That's always our deadline. I mean, yeah, brace for your windows, but like you get pretty good at reading the weather. And this has been an extremely humbling week because weather on paper has looked like there's opportunity, but it is just not leaving us. It's been if it's saying no weather or no rain, there's been a drizzle. It's almost like it feels like sometimes the rain is coming up from the ground, the way it just kind of floats in the air.
Right.
It's been so frustrating. So I think we've given that up. We're going to relinquish the possibility of that happening this week and just anyhow, and it should decomplicate things.
It's funny that you brought up the fact that you're still outside until Christmas, but your brain has to be starting to think about the super cold days or when the snow starts flying Southwest Ohio. And so, obviously your brain's going to be on the inside of the house pretty soon, and you'll physically be in there too. So that's why I wanted to talk about ceilings and how they can be a challenge. I know as a DIYer, we say ceiling looks fine. I'm not dealing with it. We just leave it the same color. We don't have guests over. Nobody's going to judge us that we know and like enough to have come over. So we just leave the ceiling the way it is. I've painted one ceiling in my life, have no interest to do it again, but it's a big part of the project.
Well, it depends on if you've got, I mean, how bad it looks. Some of them get smoky from, you walk into a house and they burn a lot of candles and, the ceilings are black, sooty, sure. And, if you've got a fireplace, that typically does it. But even if a ceiling hasn't been painted, in a long time, you can definitely tell the yellow, look. And what brings that yellow on more if they've never ever been painted, most likely it's because they've had a stomped or a popcorn, ceiling put in, which is already basically the color white, so they just leave them alone. And then they'll turn yellow over the years, and it really does enhance the house by painting it white. I mean, you can really make a difference in that scenario. Popcorn ceilings are really hard. You can only apply paint and move. You can't back roll them, or else it'll pull it all off,
Hmm.
unless they've been painted before. So the best scenario on that is to spray them out. Tape everything up, spray the popcorn on, or spray the popcorn ceiling with a sprayer, and move on. Seems like it would be a little bit more time consuming and harder. But again, once that popcorn starts falling off because you're rolling it, it's a problem. I mean, it's a big problem. So anyway, yeah. But any yellow ceiling, I mean, it really does make a big difference on the inside of what's going on. You're doing your walls, you're doing your trim, and then your ceiling's white or
Hmm.
yellow. So it
Or
helps out
not
a
only
lot.
that, I mean, and it's to the discerning eye because a lot of people don't spend their time looking up, but it truly can. It can brighten rooms. So if the trends, if the color trends are going to darker colors, no, I know we talked about it whites, but I mean, like really, the current trend is a lot of whites, but then you get a lot of darker accents, and you do get your dark rooms, like your dark, in the navies, charcoal, sea serpent. So if you're going to introduce those darker colors, which are really nice if you have them in certain rooms, you want as much light to be bouncing around in there as you can, and the ceiling helps out with that. But
Right
going all
on.
the way back, to just things relative to each other. You might not look at your ceiling all the time, but once we start painting and we cut in nice fresh lines at the top of the ceiling, and you realize all the old paint jobs that are on your walls before they rolled up onto the ceiling or they tagged the ceiling, all that stuff will just it'll make you feel like you put the dime before a dollar. It's when in reality ceilings they seem the hardest, but we have a system. They're the cheapest thing that we do. As long as you catch us on the front end of a project, um, if we paint the trim, we paint the walls, we paint everything, and now you hate your ceiling, or you want us to, to try to fix things on the ceiling, now we have to protect all of that work. We got to protect your furniture. It becomes, a lot more cumbersome at that point, and almost doubles the cost of getting your ceiling done. So anyhow, we try to encourage it, not to really upsell anybody, but like we just know we've seen it, and it makes a huge impact.
So my lack of experience painting ceilings, the only time we had to do it was in a condo in Athens, and it was above a stove, and it just seemed like a bunch of fried grease was all over the ceiling, and really not a lot of prep, just paint over top of it, right? And we don't live there anymore, whatever. The
Like, whatever.
but it seemed like a kind of a grueling process. It's above your head. It's a very uncomfortable kind of paint if you're not used to it. But if the ceiling is, say, vaulted, or if it's a cathedral ceiling, that is way, way different. And we're getting ready to put our house up out here in Churchtown. We went for the cathedrals, and it's going to be super high ceilings in there. Obviously, we're not painting it. They're going to take care of all that. But when it comes down to it, when that time comes around, several years down the road, I mean, you're looking at some pretty serious scaffolding, all that kind of stuff to make sure you can get the pitch. So, I mean, a lot of people, I would assume, feel pretty damn uncomfortable up on that stuff. Elaborate, please.
It's just harder, I mean, that's all. And we don't necessarily need to get scaffolding. I mean, unless you've got cross beams in there, we just roll it out. A lot of the times, though, if it's something really vaulted, like, I mean, very high, 20, 24, we might take the approach of, spraying it, just, makes it easier. And you just really get a high step ladder and, get you a wand with, an extension on it.
Gotcha.
So it moves out pretty good.
Yeah, and I'm sure that there's all sorts of DIY tools and extensions that you can get, probably as long as you want it to get too, so you could leave your feet on the ground. I'm sure that there's a company out there somewhere that could supply something like that. It's not going to help you too much. You probably make a mess of a lot of things if it was too long. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, we use long poles,
Yeah, and I mean, like, that's long poles say, if you wanted to get the trim around the room, you're not using the little edger. And we've had episodes about this, or at least a portion of an episode about those little plastic edgers and how they leave that line at the top. I mean, are you setting up scaffolding just to hit the edges up there?
No, we just, again, throw ladders up.
A lot of getting up and down and moving the ladder, I'd imagine, too.
Well,
Yeah,
that's where, I mean,
Yeah.
that's where we talk about getting into when we run into insurance quotes and insurance situations where a ceiling might have a stain in one area, and then insurance wants to pay for it to touch up, but that's where all the light bounces around. It's the lightest color of your room typically is going to be the ceiling, and it typically after a few years doesn't touch up well. But if we catch it before a project, and you talk about those corners, we can put it on our pole that Kevin is talking about, and we pack the corners is what we call it. We make sure that we get a high build of paint in the corners, so the corners go bright white. So when we come back and we recut that line in, that corner has no shadowing, and it's extra white and ready to really impress. So we pack the corners in with paint. We use long poles and rollers. If we get everything painted beyond that, now, yes, you're doing everything from a ladder. You're doing everything like Michelangelo in the Sistine Chapel, where you're trying to get your eyes up underneath the brush and cut in. And it's gravity doesn't leave us, right? So as you're doing that, all the paint from your brush goes down into the bushel of the brush where it holds all the paint, and then it wants to spill over and roll down the brush and on your hand. So it becomes, again, it's just another example of how it's effective to do it before, but not after. We've got the tools to do it. We don't have to occupy and take over your house with scaffold that gets left up for 5 days, if it's done strategically.
Now, of course, I have seen the houses you guys have been in, gorgeous houses where it's 100% necessary. And for some reason, I think that there may have been a light switch or something on the wall that lowered a chandelier down to the floor so you could change the light bulbs in it. That place was crazy.
Yeah, that's been a while.
That was actually, that was just, I mean, we had one of those this past year, and That's where we installed a crushed velvet wallpaper on a ceiling. It was the medallion tray in the
Wow.
middle of the foyer, and yeah, that was when you get up there in a situation where you're removing popcorn or you're removing texture or you're doing something extremely like labor intensive by the square foot, then absolutely. I mean, there's there is a reason to bring scaffolding in, and we have several of those. A simple paint is not typically it, but like yeah, that I mean, if you can look up that medallion ceiling, that was pretty cool. And you guys get used to working on the scaffold. You got the safety bars up and everything else that wobbles a little bit, but if you have it set up right, you got to trust the OSHA ratings on it.
Mm-hmm.
We've even built in turrets before. We've built scaffolding, platforms just to work on the ceiling and then bring it down and then bring it down. And I mean, we're talking, wood, plywood, studs. I mean, it's, just to get these things complete. But turrets are kind of tough, especially this one. This was fairly large. So it encompassed the scaffolding encompassed the whole ratio of the, yeah, there we go, of the
Perimeter.
turret itself. What'd you say, Nick?
Perimeter.
Perimeter. Yeah, that's the only word I was looking for, and I just couldn't get it.
I thought you were trying to get radius out of there.
I did, and I said I probably said radiator. No telling, but
Ratio, actually.
anyway,
Whatever, it's all
yeah.
right.
Okay, there we go.
All
Okay,
words are just made up anyways. We made them up a long time ago and we changed them.
That's perfectly
we like
fine.
making up words. Yeah.
Let's talk about elaborate on those techniques, Kevin. You kind of went on it a little bit with popcorn ceiling or the stomp ceiling and all that. What was it about back rolling again? Are you talking about the popcorn physically coming off of the ceiling when you back roll?
Yeah, it will. It's pretty nasty. So what happens is you get that area wet, and popcorn, of course, is just blown on the drywall board. Normally, they don't dust the dust off of the board before they do that. So there, you've already got like a slippery slope, so to speak. But if you roll, you can cut in a perimeter with a roller that has some hair on the end. So that, again, like Nick's talking about, we can really slosh it on the wall and in the corner. But if you do that around the perimeter and you do it around the whole perimeter, and then you start to roll before it's dry, it'll take that edge off. Not only that, but whenever you start rolling, you get some more paint up there and you go back over what you've already done. All it's done is moist, just got that totally saturated, and now it's heavy. And because of the dust or whatever it is without the adhesion that it really properly needs, it just falls right off. So you're pulling off popcorn the whole time. It's a
Man.
disaster.
Yo, talk about a mess. Yeah, that's a
Oh,
whole
yeah.
different project right there, cleaning that crap up, especially with wet paint sticking to it. What happens when that hits the carpet?
Well, you've got drops down.
Oh, okay. Well,
We don't DYI, DQI, DP.
I
We try to be professional. So
really trying to figure out the last time I put a drop down when I was painting. Just to be completely honest here. Certainly not in this rental we're in right now. We were just throwing paint at the wall in this place
yeah,
and covering up mold and everything else. But it's a rental. It's we took on the project of semi redoing the interior of this house so they get what they get. The other part of this was stairwells, and again with the interior stuff, this can be a grueling process. I've never done stairwells. I've never done spindles. I've pressure washed spindles, but I've never painted them. And like I said in the pressure washing episode, a spindle isn't just a spindle. You have north, south, east, and west of a spindle. And it's just, it takes a long time to get that stuff done. So talk about stairwells a little bit and patterns too. I mean, you got to develop something or you're going to get lost quick.
sorry, I was listening to a text or watching a text there. You talking about ceiling still?
Shit. Spindles on staircases.
Spindles, yeah. If you I mean, the best way to do that is I just got a call or just got some text, and Nick's over here texting me or texting saying that Kevin can go. And I'm thinking, okay, I can do that. And I started thinking about whatever. And then the next thing I know, you're asking questions. And I'm like, okay, we're still on feelings,
Okay,
right?
hang on, Nick. You guys text each other during our podcast?
Well, Devana, well, we're separated right now,
Oh,
but Devana is at the
It's like
office
it's not
and she's
it's
asking
not like
questions.
handing notes in class.
yeah, I thought it was. You're like, this is the Brett Worf guy. He sucks so much ass at hosting podcasts.
You
Yeah.
see that mole on its head? I can't stop looking at that mole. You don't have a mole on your head. I used to have a mole on
I'm
my
well
head.
aware. I got the
Yeah.
Cheryl. I got my mother's vein coming out of my head right now, though. It seems
I
like.
think we all
Dude,
got that. I think that
Yeah.
was a Silliman thing. Yeah.
you should see us in Spanish class though. I mean, in Spanish class we have that in the morning when the jobs are going, and we try to shut the world off. But guys start texting, and Daria, she's our teacher, and man, well, she's extremely patient with us, and she's fantastic. But also, we're patient with her too, because she shows up regularly 10 minutes late to class when it's just an hour. Anyhow, it goes on and on. But yeah, we'll be in the middle of trying to learn Spanish, and everybody's like, "What class is this again?" I forget.
So anyway, we'll get on to the spindle thing. Kevin, the main part of the question was you have to develop a pattern with spindles or you're going to get lost really fast and you're going to miss a ton of stuff.
I mean, everything, truthfully. I mean, this sounds like I've probably, hit this 100 times, but everything should be done with a pattern. Or like you said, you're going to get lost. You can, yeah. So spindles, you just, if you're going to tape them off, I guess you can tape them off. Maybe at least throw a drop down at the bottom. But I like to do two sides. Brett's like, overrated.
Yeah. Just run down
Drops.
there really quick and wipe it up if you drip anything.
Right.
Anyway,
But I like to do two sides, whenever you're on the steps, and then two sides whenever you're on the other side. And you can always roll out the middle easily enough in one swipe. So that can be left alone. But yeah, it works out pretty good whenever you use patterns on really most anything.
do you see a lot of that happening? Or I think my question is, do you see a lot more staircase projects in the wintertime? Is it a summertime thing, springtime? Um, do you dread it? Is the second part of the question. But start with uh, that particular project and
But
tell me if you hate it. You can be honest
I
about
think
that.
we all hate spindles, because they're just so time consuming. But if you're going to do a whole house interior, right? And let's say nobody's there, nobody lives there yet, tape those bad boys up and spray them out, let them be done. But the thing we hate the most probably is going to be whenever you have to do a different color stain. So if they want to go darker, it's a little easier. But if they want to go lighter, you've got to sand and get all of the varnish off, any coating that's sealing that wood, that stain. You have to get all of that off. And then you have to get whatever dark stain might be on there too, which is going to be embedded in the grain, which makes that more difficult. So basically, the thing we hate the most is the color change on a stain. And it can be done, but it's a pain in the butt.
Hmm.
Oh, I think that, and it's not actually the work, because like our guys love work. That type of work is we're good at it, and we can do it really well. But we're in this business to fulfill ourselves, fulfill our guys' lives, and elevate everyone, including our customers and their experience. When you get into something like that, I don't it even to the most empathetic type person, they don't appreciate the labor that needs to go into it. So it makes it hard to charge the money that's necessary to do that job effectively. And so we always end up discounting it because of how much time it takes. And then, the scrutiny that comes with it also. It's just, it's for as transformative as it is, it's not a cost effective job. And and that's that's part of what makes it really hard. It's a tough thing to price out and a tough thing for people to justify. And when they pay the money, they're extremely picky, and it's just and so that's just the reality of spindles themselves, and especially what Kevin's talking about, staining them in a lighter color.
Yeah, that'd be tough. I mean, you mentioned it getting down in the grain and stuff like that, and it's not just something because I mean, let's say you just couldn't do it. You couldn't put a lighter stain over top unless you fully get the darker stuff out of there. It's going to show right through.
Yeah, true.
Absolutely,
You,
that's the
you could
that's
actually
the nature of stain.
Right.
You could actually take a white and a white stain first, get it in the crevices, wipe everything away, then do your darker stain. So, that it keeps them lighter. I mean, there's things those, I hate to say it, but we've never even mentioned that to people. It's just, I'm sounding so negative, but they're just a pain in the butt.
No,
I
I
mean,
figured.
they really are. I mean, and like Nick said, there's no appreciation in it, in value, because I mean, there really are so many steps to go through to have to take care of these, this one handrail or whatever it is.
Mhm.
I mean, even if it is spindles, most spindles are white, but if it is all the spindles, I mean, how much do they really want to pay to have that done? So we just give them the lesser of the two and really don't mention, especially in the darker areas, anything about, the process. And we just tell them that we can't do it. So,
Well, hey, I got you, and that a lot of that is completely understandable. And I get these things in my brains. You guys never really talk about what you love and what you don't necessarily like the most. Um, when you're out on a job, like somebody contracts you to do spindles, and you're just like, But there's a process to it, and over the years, you guys have developed that, and it's just like the back of your hand now. So
yeah, yeah,
the job's the
because
job.
yeah, we don't mind. I mean, we don't mind doing them. It's just, again, the process is a little bit more difficult than what, people think that it is. And then, we've come out there to give them a price on their job, and we tell them, where we're at on the spindles, and somebody else might come in there with the inexperience of it all, and price it out so drastically different in price
Mm.
that they get the job. So again, there's definitely variations of, of this scenario galore, but I mean, it is what it is.
Right.
It's a
And
tough subject. Let's get back to ceilings. Were we on ceilings?
we were, yeah. I mean, stairwells, if you would have read the notes that I slave over every week. Um,
I can tell. It really looks like you put. Okay, never mind.
It's all right. It's all right. No, we really went through the ceilings a lot. I think the only thing I wanted to know that we forgot to mention about ceilings was that you probably, once you're done and you put everything away and you think you're done with the project, that's when you notice the spot that you missed. And for a DIYer, it's easy to put it in the back of your brain and be like, I'll do it tomorrow. But when it comes down to you guys who have the beautiful name, the Ohio Painting Company, you guys can't just pack it up and take off. Is there a review process before everything is officially put away?
Yeah, I mean, we have a project manager, Corey's our project manager, and he does a great job, especially dealing with the customer. But no, if there's something like that, it's really, I mean, it sounds horrifying. I guess the worst case scenario would be that the cut in around the fan or the lights,
Mm.
at the top of that, elevated ceiling, was not properly cut in, because then you have to, normally build that scaffolding or whatever it is, get out that ladder.
Yeah.
We set ladders, like if there's a ceiling going this way, we'll set a ladder this way, right? Because it's
Okay.
not going anywhere. It's not going to go down. So, and then we'll cut it in. But then that leaves marks. Well, those marks are easier to take care of, just as a void is easy to take care of by simply throwing down a drop, getting the pull out there, putting a little paint on it and touching it up. So it's not hateful, but the lights are a pain in the butt. I
Oh,
mean,
I
because
bet.
then you got to bring the ladder back in, put the drops down. If it's raining, your ladders are wet, blah, blah, blah.
I notice your attention to detail all the time, just scrolling through Slack. It's kind of your team building application, so you can keep track of jobs and where you're at. But I've seen pictures of just the smallest little drop of paint on, either a floor or just the smallest piece of paint on a baseboard, and it's just got somebody's finger next to it, pointing to it, and it's just kind of a matter of, hey, let's go take care of this, and we'll call it quits.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Corey has a little green light he likes to use. He just a little laser light. He's like,
I'm not bending over. I
Oh,
get it.
when he found when he found those, he bought one for everybody in the company. He's like, "This is this is great." I've got mine in the console, but oh yeah, Corey uses that, and it, those drips of paint and everything. Murphy's law applies everywhere all the time. But if you follow the systems and you follow the patterns, then those things aren't likely. So, our guys, they ebb and flow. They get tight with it, and then sometimes they get a little loose, but just we got to hold it there. And if, they are intentional about the setup and about following systems, and those things don't happen. So that's why we point them out. We're not assholes. We're not, we are persnickety, but it's no surprise. They knew it getting into, our relationship. Most of our guys have known it for 8 years. So they like, we love them where they are, but they love us where we are too. We're all in this boat together, and we try to take care of it, and they definitely do a great job of responding and owning up to it if there is an issue like that.
Very good. Well, the Ohio Painting Company promise, they'll come back and take care of the drips, no matter how small, how big, and you'll be happy with it. 937-409-4443. It's the Ohio Painting Company. Also visit them online at ohiopainting.com. Visit the store, get yourself some swag from the Ohio Painting Company for you, even the dog. They got stuff for the dog.
Christmas swag right now.
Oh, really? All right. I love it.
And, we got a Christmas store.
Very cool. So, that's obviously going to be a rolling change throughout the season here. Are we going to, we've had breast cancer awareness. Now we jump to Christmas. You guys going to have some Easter stuff, maybe a little St. Patty's Day, Ohio painting?
Probably not. Maybe some green. Maybe some St. Patty, yeah.
Maybe a little Valentine's.
Nah, screw that.
I love it. I love the fact that it happens. Kevin and I really have no say in that anymore, and that's been it's been a nice relinquishment. Devonna and the marketing team, they've done an amazing job. I've never asked for a Christmas store, but it's a cool idea, and we'll use it. So yeah,
good stuff. Kevin and Nick, founders of the Ohio Painting Company, I want to thank you for coming on. We'll talk next week.
All right, thanks, Fred.
All right.